Warriors are mediocre. Been a few days since I posted. Was going to post the Pacers game, but had some stuff with the family go on Sunday, so didn't get to do that. And then the Warriors, on Saturday, I'm sorry. And then Sunday, the Warriors played, lost to the Timberwolves. And frankly, I just wasn't feeling it after that game, so I didn't post anything. But here we are today, 2 games down once again. As of tonight, the Rockets are playing the Portland Trail Blazers, I think in Houston. And if the Rockets win that game, then the Warriors are going to be out of the play-in tournament. So that's where we are right now. The Warriors are just on a downward spiral. Things are not going well anywhere. Not shooting well, not defending well, not rebounding. I mean, they're still rebounding a little bit, but they suck. They suck. They're mid, and yeah, But we all know this. I kind of wanted to talk about what's kind of gone wrong and where this season ultimately fell apart. And, we're all going to look back at the trade deadline, and I think that's kind of where it is. And we talked about it quite a bit, on this channel about the decision to keep Jonathan Kuminga or to go out and try and find yourself that genuine number 2 scorer and then also get a center that can genuinely protect the rim. To clarify, no shade to Jonathan Kuminga here at all. All I've done is give him props. I'm critical because he's been, jet streamed into a very big role on this team at a very young age where he's being asked to do a lot of stuff and be essentially the second best player on a team that, even though they're really not good enough to win a championship, the fan base wants a championship, and I'm sure the front office wants a championship. So Jonathan Kuminga's position on this roster has been very much thrown into the brightest lights possible. And then TrayceJackson-Davis, talked plenty about not having enough size at the center position or the power forward position, and just not having enough rim protection. We know Draymond is still a very good defender, but it's just if he doesn't have a help defender behind him that can consistently, deter shots in the paint at a, at least relatively consistent rate, then Draymond's role defensively gets minimized. He can't do as much, so he can't be as effective. So Draymond's not as important on the floor, right? And, we go back to that 8-game stretch that they had in February before the deadline where they won 8 road games in a row and were just absolutely on fire. But the one thing that I kept pointing out to you guys was that every team we faced in that span was not a big-time paint presence team. Obviously, the Sixers had lost Joel Embiid at that point, so that was no longer an issue to deal with. The Nets, they have Claxton, but that's really it. Ben Simmons is out. Mikal Bridges is not the most, he's not LeBron James driving down there. Cam Thomas is not LeBron James driving down there. They didn't have much there anyways either. So that wasn't a big problem. Most of those teams, I think they played the Pacers as well. It's just they didn't face many teams that have this major interior presence, So the paint defense was not really getting tested like I said they would, facing bigger teams, And the problem is when you're an undersized team, you have to overcompensate a bit. And I spoke about this in the last video. The overcompensation is that the moment you see someone try and get into the paint, because every guy on the Warriors knows they're undersized, they play, when you watch them defend, you can just see that they're aware that they do not have the size to protect the paint. They know they can't. So every time someone makes any sort of, legitimate drive into the paint, everyone collapses. Everyone collapses. Because why? They don't trust what's back there. I'm sure they trust Draymond, but they know that Draymond doesn't have the support, weak, strong side wherever it's needed. He doesn't have that support, so Draymond can't do what he needs to do. So the overcompensation is everyone collapses, and then that just creates wide open drive and kick corner threes, which have been absolutely destroying the Warriors all season. let alone transition defense. The Warriors still turn the ball over quite a bit. The Warriors still haven't been able to get out and get back on defense, which means you're playing the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards, Naz Reid are getting all the pull-up threes they could ever want. Not much of a contest going. I thought the Warriors defended pretty well against the Timberwolves, but, it's not good enough. Defending all right is not going to win you ball games against, a top 3 team in the league right now. You know what I'm saying? The Warriors have overcompensated because they're undersized. The front office chose to say, Jonathan Kuminga, heading into the trade deadline, is averaging 25 points per game. His defense is a little iffy, but we're going to take the chances that he can actually improve quickly as he has with the offense. We're going to trust in TrayceJackson-Davis. We're going to stop playing Kevon Looney and Dario Saric and go to TrayceJackson-Davis and really get him ready for the playoffs to make him a focal point of this defense. And I said, all fine and well, but that's quite the gamble. It's a risk. It's a big-time risk that you're playing with Steph, saying, we trust Kuminga more than we trust going out and getting a DeMar DeRozan, or going out and getting a Lauri Markkanen, or going out and getting a Jeremy Grant, or maybe a Tobias Harris, so on and so forth. They trusted Kuminga and Trace more than they did the guys I just named, or a Jared Allen, or a Jakob Poeltl, or someone in that vein that can help protect the rim even, And that's fine. Again, I like I said back when the trade deadline was about to happen, that's fine. It's okay to take that gamble, but be prepared for it not working out. And that's what happened. It has not panned out. Jonathan Kuminga's offense has looked iffy, not where it was in that month. Why? Because teams care now. Teams are looking at Kuminga. In the span of like 3 or 4 months, Jonathan Kuminga went from, he could get out and transition, whatever, he's not a focal point, to, we just have to gap him because he's not a shooter. Jonathan's a solid player, but he does not have the game complete enough to take what a defense is giving him and then execute consistently. He doesn't have that yet. When a team's sagging off of him, his mid-range, that thing's ugly. I'm not going to lie, man. It's an ugly mid-range shot. It doesn't look like he's comfortable taking that shot. It just looks like he thinks he has to, so he does it. Jonathan has a set shot for him. Why? Because when he was coming into the league, all he ever got told, which is pretty evident by the way he started off his career versus where he is or where he was in that 25 point per game stretch, was you got to be able to shoot the three. And so what did he practice? Catch and shoot threes. So he has a set shot form. He has a very one-handed release. The other hand kind of just sits there, And now he's at a point where the catch and shoot three, it's not really necessary for what he needs to do because teams are just gapping him. And now you don't want Jonathan Kuminga to just become some three-point chucker. He needs to get downhill. He needs to be a force in the paint and really make defenses worry about him. But they're really gapping him, which means he needs to be able to take advantage of the mid-range. But his mid-range is just sole athleticism at this point. There's no skill behind it. There's no real fluidity behind it. It's not DeMar. It's not Jaylen Brown mid-range. It's none of that. It's just sole athleticism. I can get over top of you, and I'm kind of just throwing the ball at the hoop and hoping for the best. Maybe I get free throws, or maybe I miss. He still flails. He still tries to get calls first. If he makes a bad decision, his immediate thing is look at the refs, which I understand. That's kind of like a reactive response because in his mind, I'm sure it's like, I fucked up, Kerr's going to pull me. So he's like, it was a foul, come on, please help, you know what I mean? So that might have hindered his game a little bit, but that was a big risk, It was a big risk putting all this on Kuminga's shoulders. It's still a big risk, essentially putting all the weight of everything on Steph. At this age, he tweaked his ankle a few games ago. Still kind of dealing with that, I imagine. Clay's played pretty well, I think, coming off the bench. Best basketball of the season, I'd say. He's becoming a better playmaker. His defense is looking a little bit better. He looks like more a complete player than he has. And that's all I've wanted. That's all I said I wanted. So there's some positives. Chris Paul's played some good basketball, but you just see with this team, man. The Timberwolves are not a very good offensive team. They're ranked 18th in the league in offense. I imagine probably a little bit worse without Karl Anthony Towns, who's obviously out with, I think, the meniscus. I'm pretty sure it's a meniscus. And yet they lose to the Timberwolves. And look, the Timberwolves are the best defensive team in the league. Not going to act like that's not the case, but still, you can't defend as the Warriors. You're 18th in the league defensively. And then offensively, you're the 7th ranked offense, but you're playing the best defense. And so they're going to put pressure on you, and the Warriors do not really have a paint presence as it stands, especially because that 3-center lineup of Gobert, Naz Reid, and Karl Anthony Towns, they're just constantly running Twin Towers almost at all times. So regardless of if Cat's there or not, you still have 2 7-footers in the paint. And they're deterring and blocking shots, and that's what they did. They were blocking Trayce everywhere, man. Trayce didn't get much in that game. They shut him down for the most part. It was rough. And it's we're getting to the point where it's not like, oh, the Warriors are injured, let's just see when they're healthy, or Kuminga's starting to play well, let's just see when it clicks. We're just watching these games, and we're finally at a point with the Warriors where it's just like, this team is just not good enough. We're just outmatched. Bottom line. We don't have enough talent. We're out-talented. We're outmatched. We're out-hustled. We're out-offensed, defensed. Everything that the Warriors need to excel at, the opponent's doing better. Be it the Pacers, who don't defend for anything. They're 25th in the league in defense. I mean, they're the number 1 offense, but they're 25th in the league in defense. And they played better defense in that game than the Warriors did. Warriors still lost, right? It's a mess. And that gamble at the deadline to stand pat and say, you know what? We trust the young guys. We're going to ride the young guys. Hasn't worked. It has not worked. And I don't know what the path forward here is. That's the thing is, at what point does it, do we say the front office trusts these guys, or at what point do we reach the conclusion that the front office just no longer wants to spend money? When do we get there, right? I know the whole apron situation and the tax situation, the Warriors are really, in a rough spot, but they could have made moves and bit the bullet on some money, which would have sucked, but it would have put the Warriors in a better position to win. They didn't do that. They haven't done that for the last few years. So again, at what point is it they're just done competing? They got their 4 chips. The 4th one, they weren't even trying to win. It just happened. All the stars aligned for that one. So they got 4, and now they're chilling. When do we start questioning that? Is Joe Lacob still as competitive as he was in the beginning? Does he still want to try and win more championships? Or is he just at a point where this is now just kind of a little bit of a business expense? Or, a little side project to make some money off of, right? Because, I don't know. I'm not feeling confident about things going forward. They have not indicated to me that they want to really improve this roster. They made a couple minor moves going into this season, which haven't really done as much as we would have wanted. Dario is a good player, but as we've seen, he just doesn't fit the team and what they're trying to do. He doesn't play as much paint defense, and the Warriors already struggle with that. And he's not a fast player, and the Warriors want to get up and down the floor. So, in the beginning of the season, when Draymond was out and people are hurt and all that stuff, and the Warriors are playing slower, Dario fit that. But the moment Draymond came back and the moment things started speeding up and they needed to get the offense rolling, Dario no longer fits. Did they move him? No. Okay. But you just got another guy on the roster that can't really do much. So, again, that's kind of what's gone wrong. The Warriors gambled at the deadline. Didn't pan out, as, we're all sitting here knowing, and I imagine most of you are in the same boat as me as Warriors fans, just deflated, honestly. Not really even mad, just deflated. Because that's what it feels like, Because this is, when you compare dynasties, and everyone's like, oh, all good things come to an end or whatever. It's like, sure, but they don't just end. A lot of the times, things that shouldn't go wrong, and then they end, right? We are lucky to have been in the situation that we were. And, you guys know on this channel, we never praise injuries. We're not, happy when people get hurt ever. It sucks. We don't want to see it, But let's not act like the Warriors, when KD got hurt, when Klay got hurt twice, and when Steph got hurt, that those injuries did not benefit the future of the Warriors. That is the very reason, those are essentially the reasons why we have the group of young players that we have right now. That's why. Because of those injuries. Obviously Wiseman didn't pan out. Obviously Jordan Poole is, whatever, right? But this is the reason. And so we had a second life and the ability to say we can extend this dynasty further. And that's where almost the negativity of having too many potential decisions to make, that seems to have come into play. Because, in my opinion, we should have just traded the draft picks and not even drafted. Who wants the number 7 pick? Who wants the number 2 pick? Hit me up, Send me whatever you got. Let me know. Show me. Who do you have that you'd be willing to trade? We're trying to win again. Let's go. But they didn't do that. Number 7 pick. What do you guys got? What do you want? We're thinking Jonathan Kuminga, but if any of you guys want him, what do you got to offer? The Warriors didn't do that. They just took the young player and said, he's cheap. He's going to be easy to put on this team. Curl put him into the role that he deems necessary, and hopefully that'll help. It'll be a new burst of energy. You're trying to win championships, man. Stocking your bench full of young guys that are inexperienced, that are trying to figure their way out in the league, evidently doesn't work. It's especially in a system where they're not really able to grow because they're in set roles. This isn't some, schoolyard bullshit, do whatever you want, 2022 Houston Rockets team, This is you are being inserted into a role, and you are to play this role if you want to be on the floor. And that's all fine and well, but for young players, that's almost crippling, especially for top picks. Almost crippling, James Wiseman didn't fit that. He's kind of playing well right now in Detroit, and I'm happy for him. But he would not have had that growth with the Warriors because the Warriors weren't going to let him really kind of just explore his game. Who knows if James Wiseman was on a team that did say, do whatever you want out there. Go learn, make mistakes, play through them, figure it out. James Wiseman might be a really good player right now. I mean, we all know that he's kind of an imbecile when it comes to defense and just making the right decisions and being in the right position. No offense, even though I know I just kind of roasted him. But if he just had the opportunity to go out there and make those mistakes and learn and not really have to deal with, being pulled the second a problem occurs, he could be in a really good spot. So, the Warriors have kind of failed this whole little rebuild thing, in my opinion. And they're at a point right now where it's like Jonathan Kuminga next year will be going into, year 4? Moses Moody, year 4. Trace, year 2. And he's already on a 4-year contract. Podziemski, he'll be going into year 2, but his offense is kind of, tanked a little bit. And not even his fault. He's getting played into the ground like it's Tom Thibodeau out there, But that's because the Warriors have to rely so much on him because they just don't have enough talent on the roster to make up for that. Otherwise, Podziemski wouldn't be playing 30-something minutes. So, yeah. I know this is not even really a rant video, but kind of just like a deflated, things aren't going well, we're kind of screwed sort of tone. But that's how I'm feeling. I feel like we're just at a bad point, and it feels like we're kind of pinned to a wall at the moment with no way of escaping. The Warriors should have money to spend in free agency if they're able to get off of Chris Paul's contract if they get off of Kevon Looney's contract, if they even get off of Gary's contract, because he's had a lot of issues staying healthy, potentially moving Wiggins. Like, you got to overhaul the roster, man. You really do. Otherwise, I just don't understand why Steph Curry is here getting paid $50 million. If you're not going to build for a championship, then just send that man somewhere to win. Just do it. You're just wasting his time. He's not working his absolute ass off year in and year out, putting up near MVP-like numbers every single season just to finish out of the play-in. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Steph wants to win. And if you're not going to build around him, then just move him. Move him and build around Kuminga, build around Podziemski and Trace and them. If that's what the goal is, if you're like, we're done with the old guys, retire or leave. Your choice. If you want to do that, fine. But do it. This is now the third straight year where we're in the same situation of decision making that we've been in, which is pick a direction. Now or future. You cannot continue to sit here and middle ground this shit. It's not going to work. It's just not going to work. Jonathan Kuminga is not going to become that player. Not now. Year 4 is not going to be much different. I guarantee you. We're going to have that same stretch of games where it's like, okay, he looks pretty good. And then teams are going to take him seriously again. He's going to get gapped, and he's not going to know how to shoot because he's not there yet. Issue. Can't deal with that. Andrew Wiggins, as impactful as he is defensively, that guy is getting paid 20-something million to be a non-factor on offense on most nights. Not okay. Not okay. I like Andrew, but I'm done. I'm tired of it. He's not consistent. He doesn't really have that passion. He doesn't want to go out there and give you 25 a night, even though he easily could if he wanted to, but he doesn't. And that's why he doesn't do it. He's there collecting his check, feeding his family, and he's calling it a day. That's it. That's all you're going to get from Wiggins. He'll defend a little bit. He'll shoot the 3, and he'll once every few months, get on SportsCenter for a dunk. Other than that, he's not doing anything. So I'm over it at this point. I just want the team to make a decision and stop kind of middle grounding everything. And if Lacob's done spending money, then I guess we're in for a rough stretch here for the next decade or so, because the Warriors only have a couple first-round picks to really use that are going to be worth too much. And, if the Warriors opt to trade those picks for players and then things still don't go well, then we've got fuck all. So, yeah, man. Again, a little bit of a depressing video, but that's kind of where I'm at. So, if you're a Warriors fan, let me know in the comments what you think. How do you feel about the situation? Are you confident going forward with this team, or are you in the same boat as me? How do you feel? And with that being said, the Warriors play tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. And if they do, we will be back with another video. But if I don't post right after the game, apologies. It's a little tough to. They don't give me much to feel good about recording. So I don't like to just sit here and shit all over the team. So, but yeah. Anyways, have a good rest of your week, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.